What's going on, Chicago? Long time no see. Listen, guys, let me tell you something. It's my favorite time of the year, especially during the baseball season. Guys, we are less than 24 hours away from the trade deadline. So listen, we're officially on Trade Watch. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mike Jones back again with another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Do me a solid. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so that you never miss a single episode of Chicago Cubs Central. I don't know how long this episode is going to be because we honestly may drop multiple episodes over the next 24 hours, just depending on what trades and what decisions and what things happen with the Chicago Cubs. But you definitely don't want to miss tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Central. We will be dropping the a episode after the trade deadline has officially ended, sizing up what the Chicago Cubs have done, what moves they've made, what moves we heard they were in talks of making, and what did and did not happen. So make sure that you guys stay locked in for all of that. And you make sure, hey, listen, if you haven't already, hit that notification bell so that you can always catch Chicago Cubs Central anytime we drop a new episode. Don't miss out, y'all. All right, so listen. Trades have already went down. The biggest trade of all being Tarik Skubal being traded to none other than the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'll be damned if those Dodgers did not get that deal done. We had heard rumors about it. We had heard rumors about the Cubs potentially being in on them, about other teams potentially looking at them, like the Phillies and other teams. But literally, like I said, it looked like it ended up being the Los Angeles Dodgers, who now have a juggernaut. You have Not only do you have Roki Sasaki, who we'll see this week playing for the Dodgers, you now put that with Shohei Ohtani. You now put that with Freddie Freeman. You also put that with Mookie Betts. You also put that with Teoscar Hernandez. You also put that, with Kyle Tucker. You put that with all these different players that they have over there for the Dodgers. And let me tell you something. It's an all-star game. It's an all-star game anytime they play. And they're coming to Chicago. And Tarik Skubal is going to make his first start for the Chicago Cubs this coming Tuesday. That game is going to be insane. I am not looking forward to it at all. Last time the Chicago Cubs faced Tarik Skubal, I think we mustered maybe one hit the whole game off of him. But for what it's worth, Ben Brown did go head to head with Tarik Skubal in that game. And like I said, it just ended up happening where the Chicago Cubs, I think they did lose that one, but I think it was very close. It was a very close game because Ben Brown pitched his ass off also. But now Tarik Skubal also has a high-powered Dodger offense behind him to help get him runs, get him in place to win, and he's awfully hard to score off of. So the Dodgers are stacking the deck in their favor. Like I said, especially not after especially after going back to back last year for the World Series, getting their second World Series ring, and now they have sweetened the pot. And it's also up to the Chicago Cubs, because if we were to end the season today, the Chicago Cubs would be facing the Arizona Diamondbacks, who I have no doubt I believe they will beat. I think it'd be a fun series, but I do think the Cubs would etch them out. But then after that, you got to go face the Dodgers next after that. So what can the Chicago Cubs do? Let's talk about some people that are off the table already. Freddie Peralta traded to the Tampa Bay Rays, but the Mets still are in sell mode. Clay Holmes is still available. The Mets have not traded him yet. He's a name to watch for. There's Reid Detmers of the Angels. There is José Soriano of the Angels. There's George Kirby. There's Emerson Hancock. And then, of course, there is Mason Miller. When you look at all of those guys that are available, you say, okay, well, what do the Cubs have to give up? Well, the Cubs have a decent amount to give up, because Chicago Cubs can trade Caden Kepley. The Chicago Cubs can trade Owen Ayers. The Chicago Cubs can trade Josiah Hartshorn. These are all AAA players that the Chicago Cubs currently have on the iCubs system. These guys are all listed and rated very highly. So it very well could end up being one of these guys that ends up getting traded And yeah, man, like I said, the next 24 hours are going to be crazy. And especially when you start noticing. So tomorrow, Monday, is the trade deadline, right? Well, Owen Ayers literally was taken out of the game earlier in the game. Caden Kepley did not play in the game. We don't know where he could end up. And then Josiah Hartshorn left the game early also. Now, again, they don't have any games tomorrow for AAA because a lot of them will need to reshuffle and restack the deck once these trades go through for guys that got prospects and guys that gave up prospects. So they try to do that and allow the teams a chance and opportunity to do that. So we will see what happens there. However, like I said, a Reid Detmers is somebody that can absolutely help the Chicago Cubs out. We've done an episode on Reid. José Soriano, we've also done an episode on Jose and how he fits in with the Chicago Cubs roster, even though he's a lefty, and the Cubs have a bunch of lefties already. Then there's George Kirby, and then there's Emerson Hancock, and then obviously the pie in the sky is Mason Miller, right? So the Padres have already stated that they are not looking currently to trade Mason Miller, but hey, who knows? Somebody may give them an offer that they just can't refuse. I mean, some really, really high prospects. What if the Cubs put together a package that includes Owen Ayers, Kevin Alcantara, and James Triantos for Mason Miller? I mean, that's a package that I think a lot of teams would like. So it's just about Jed having to get very, very creative. You guys tell me, comment below, who do you guys want the Chicago Cubs to trade for? Who have you been looking at? I have ventured over into the Nationals. And I know everybody has talked about the Chicago Cubs and their need for pitching, and their need for pitching is still there. I'm not gonna make believe and pretend that it's not there. But what I'm thinking about is the fact that the Chicago Cubs also do have a need still for hitting. The Chicago Cubs lost this series to the to the New York Yankees, and honestly, it had absolutely nothing to do with pitching. It had everything to do with hitting. So, like I said, the Chicago Cubs scored 5 runs on Saturday, scored 1 run on Sunday, scored no runs on Friday. That's a very winnable series. If the Chicago Cubs, now granted they did face some very damn good pitching all 3 days, but like I said, I mean, hey, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. And you're coming up on probably the toughest series to date. And then after that, you got the Angels, and then after that, you got the Blue Jays, and then after that, you turn around and you got 3 against the Royals, and then the Nationals, and then the Cardinals again, and then the White Sox, and then the Mariners, and then the Diamondbacks, who you could potentially end up seeing. So the Cubs have a very winnable month ahead of them, even though they faced the Yankees and lost that series, and they're going to face the Dodgers and probably lose that series too. So, it, like I said, I just think that the Chicago Cubs have to look at all options. And to me, while the pitching is a need and a necessity, I also think the Chicago Cubs still need some hitting. Now, this is pie in the sky. I haven't heard anything. I don't know anything about what's going to happen with this, but I'm looking at someone who I want the Chicago Cubs to go after. And let me read to you his stats. He has a 266 batting average. He's hit 30 home runs this season. He has 73 RBIs. He has a .932 OPS. He bats left. He's a lefty, and he plays right field. I'm talking about none other than James Wood. I would be absolutely willing to trade Seiya Suzuki for the rest of this season, and or even if you don't trade Seiya, you already have his replacement in James Wood, who's 23 years old, way younger, fits the timeline of a PCA. These two can grow together. But you have somebody that is literally always in swing mode, and when he connects, it's over with. Kid has 30 home runs already, 73 RBIs, a .932 OPS for the season. Could you imagine him being everyday DH this year, or moving Seiya to DH and putting him in the middle of that lineup, and what that would be? Now, listen, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. James Wood is gonna cost you a pretty penny to get because he has so much team control, because he's young. But Washington is absolutely in sell mode. And James Wood is ready right now to compete. I would love for the Chicago Cubs to go out and make a trade for him. But what do you guys think? It's going to cost you a lot, but I think he's somebody that will absolutely come through. So what the Cubs need 2 or 3 pitchers, 2 starters, 1 reliever, an ideal way to win the trade deadline is to grab Reid Detmers and Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver. If you could get those 3 arms, you feel really good coming out of this. If you're able to somehow make a trade for James Wood also on top of that, well, then I think that you have absolutely won, and Jed has done everything possible to put the Chicago Cubs at an opportunity to beat the Dodgers. We already have a high-powered offense. You add somebody like James Wood in the middle of that, he is going to absolutely thrive, either hitting before or after Seiya Suzuki, and definitely after Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm excited, guys, because I don't know what's going to happen, but we will have it all here for you on another episode of Chicago Cubs Central. Make sure that you guys hit that notification button and also comment below your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Until next time, go Cubs, go.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.